students, good evening everyone. So let us start with the new chapter of science. This is of class 5th and the name of the chapter is Animals, Habitat and Adaptation. The name of the chapter is Animals, Habitat and Adaptation. First of all, we will begin with the habitat. This will be your first part of this chapter. First we will study about only the habitat of the animals. Habitat means where do they live. Okay, and in the next part we will move further with the adaptation. Okay, so now let us see the contents. What are we going to study? Okay. So students, in the first part we will only study about the habitat of the animals. Okay, and in habitat what are the points that we are going to study? The different habitat of the animals, and the different habitat are like forest, what kind of animals live in the forest, how do they adapt themselves there, okay? Then desert, then polar regions and mountains, oceans and fresh water. So these are the points that we are going to study under the topic that is habitat. Okay. So students, let us begin with habitat. Okay. Now what is habitat? What do you mean by habitat? Habitat means it is an area where a particular animal naturally lives. Is called its habitat. Habitat means it is actually a home. Okay, habitat means home, where we live. It is a particular area of an animal where they naturally live. Since they are born within an area where they live, that is called as habitat. Okay, now an animal's habitat provides it with air, water, food and shelter. Now this habitat, it provides the animal, the particular animal which is living in an area, the habitat provides that animal with all the essential things which an animal needs to survive. Habitat provides an animal all the essential needs, all the essential things which an animal needs to survive, to live, like air, water, food, shelter. If there is no air and water, we will not be able to live, and if there is no food, we will not be able to eat anything. Yes or no? And if there is no shelter, where will we stay? Yes or no? So altogether these are the necessary things that a habitat provides us, and habitat is a place where a particular animal naturally lives. Understood? Then for example, you can see the home of an animal is found within its habitat. The home of an animal is found within its habitat. For example, it is given a lion's home is the den and the forest is its habitat. Where does a lion live? Does it live inside the house? No, a lion lives in the forest. And in the forest, where does it live? It lives in the den. Yes or no? Den is a place under the mountains or some sheds where they stay. Okay, they do not build actually, they stay there. They find a suitable place for themselves and they make their home there to stay. So a lion stays in the den and the forest becomes its habitat. Why? Because the forest provides the lion with air, water, food, shelter, everything. The forest is providing everything to the lion to survive. That is why the forest becomes the habitat of the lion, and the place where it stays is the den. Okay? See, there are different types of habitat on earth. There are different types of habitat where different types of animals live. For example, you can say forest, desert, polar region and mountain. Okay? Then oceans and fresh water. Fresh water like lakes, ponds and rivers. These fresh water are the habitat of some marine animals which live inside the water, some aquatic animals like river, pond, okay, then lakes. These are called as the freshwater habitat. Okay, so according to the environment, there are different types of habitat where different types of animals live. I hope you understood what is a habitat. It is a place where a particular animal lives naturally, and a habitat provides the animal with all the essential things which they require to survive. For example, like air, water, food, shelter. Okay. Then, for example, you can say, suppose a lion is living in a den and the forest is its habitat. The forest is the habitat of a lion and a lion lives inside the den. Den is the home of a lion. Okay? And according to the environment and different places, different animals have different habitat. Those are forest, desert, polar region, mountains, okay? Then oceans and fresh water. Okay? So students, now let us study about the forest habitat. What are the animals which live in forest? Now what is a forest? A forest is a large area that is covered with trees and plants. Yes or no? What is a forest? It is a large area which is covered with many trees and plants. Okay? Then forests provide shelter to a large variety of animals. Large variety means there are different types of animals and birds which live in the forest. Different types of animals and birds are there which live in the forest. That is called as variety. Variety means different types. Okay? There is not only a specific type of animal that lives in the forest. There are different types of animals and birds which take their shelter in the forest and make forest is the habitat. Okay? Forest is a habitat where different types of animals and plants take their shelter. They make their home in the forest and it becomes their habitat. Understood? Then animals such as lion, tigers, bears and bats live in the forest caves. Where do these tigers, the wild animals like tigers, lions, bears, bats, these are all wild animals, yes or no? Where do they stay? Do they stay in the city or towns like us? No. What are their habitat? Their habitat is forest. Why? Because there are wild animals. They are the wild animals. They cannot stay with us here. Their food habits are different. The living way is different from different animals. Yes or no? Like the dogs and cats, they stay in the area which is surrounded by people. But can these wild animals stay? No, they will eat us. Yes or no? Because their food habits are different. They are the wild animals. That is why their habitat is forest and they stay in the forest cave like the dens I told you. Okay, den are the homes of these wild animals. Understood? Then many forest animals live on trees and there are many animals which live on the trees. For example, monkeys and different types of birds. The monkeys and different types of birds, they live on the trees in the forest. The trees are the shelter of many monkeys and many different types of birds. And this forest becomes their habitat. Forest is also a habitat of monkey and different types of birds. And several types of insects live on the forest floor. Forest floor means the land of the forest. They make their shelter there. They make their home there. Like the moles, the big rats. Okay? Then snakes, earthworms and rats live inside the burrows under the ground. They dig the burrows inside the ground of the forest. Those are called as the forest floor. The ground of the forest are called as the forest floor, where some different types of insects and animals live there. They make their own home there and they live there. Okay? So, forest is an area which is covered with trees and plants, with many trees and plants. It is a dense area. Dense area means a big large area which is fully covered with plants and trees. Big plants and trees. Okay? And it provides provide shelter to variety of animals. Variety of animals means many different types of animals and birds. The wild animals, they live in the forest and they make their home in the forest cave. Okay. Then animals like monkeys and birds, they make their home in the trees in the forest. Okay. Then several types of insects like moles, snakes, earthworm, rats, they live inside the burrows. They dig the burrow, small or not small, it can be big holes where they dig holes and they make their home there so that they can stay there. Understood? So these are the forest habitat where such animals live. They make their own homes there and this forest becomes their habitat. So students, this is a picture of forest habitat. This is how a forest looks like, with many trees and many plants where different animals and birds they live and many different types of insects they live in the forest. Okay, it is a home to many different variety of animals and birds as well as insects. Now we will study about desert habitat. Okay. Now what is a desert? You all know what is a desert, right? You are living in a place where you are surrounded by many deserts around you. Yes or no? So a desert is a place which is dry, often sandy region that receives very less rainfall. What is a desert? It is a dry, often sandy region. Yes or no? Everywhere there is sand around a desert. Then that receives very little rainfall. That means there is very less rainfall in the desert area, in the desert region. And if there is very less rainfall and it is a very dry region where it is full of sand everywhere, then what type of animal survive in this type of region? What are the animals do they live here in desert area? It is usually very hot during the day and cold during the night, and the temperature is also not moderate in the desert area. Yes or no? During the daytime it's very hot and during night it is very cold. So what type of animals will survive in this region? There are different animals like camel, rattlesnakes and ground squirrels. These are some animals which are found in desert. According to their environment, they dwell in this region. Okay. There is scarcity of water in the desert. Water is very hard to find in the desert. Yes or no? There is also scarcity of water in the desert. Scarcity means very lack. That means the water is lacking there. You will not find water easily in the desert. Water cannot be found easily in the desert. Understood? So desert is a region which is very dry, okay, and sandy and which receives very little rainfall. It is usually very hot during day and very cold during night, and it is a place where there is scarcity of water. That means the availability of water is very less. Scarcity means the availability of water is very less. Okay, and there are only few animals which can survive in these deserts. Those animals are camel, rattlesnakes. The snakes you will find in the desert which can survive in the very cold and in very hot climate. Okay, the ground squirrels are there, the camels are there. Camels can survive without water and food for many days. How you know? Because the food that they eat, they store it in the hump, which gives them energy for many days. Okay, the hump that you see in the camels, it is actually the storage of the food, where they store their food. The extra fats are stored in the hump of the camel, which gives them energy to survive for many days even if they don't eat. Okay, so these are some animals which can survive in the very hot, dry region, in the desert region. Understood? It is there in your book. You will find in your book. about these things. Okay? So students, this is the picture of a desert habitat. See, everywhere there is sand and the area is very dry with no water around. And these are the animals like the snakes, the camel, the squirrels, some kinds of beetles and insects are found in these areas where they can survive. Okay? And now students, let us study about the polar region and mountains. Polar region and mountains are also habitat of many different animals. It is a place where many animals live. Different types of animals live in these regions also, polar region and mountains. Okay? Antarctica and Arctic are the Earth's polar region, and the high mountains are extremely cold and covered with snow. This Antarctica and Arctic are the polar region of the Earth, and the high mountains are extremely cold and covered with snow throughout. These regions are very cold and it is covered with snow throughout the year. You can imagine how cold it is, because throughout the year these areas are covered with snow and it is very cold, extremely cold. Okay, and what are the animals live in this kind of places? In this type of places, what are the different animals which live? Are the polar bears, the seals, the walrus are found in polar region, whereas yak and mountain goat are found on mountains. These yak and mountain goats are found in polar region and mountains. And how do they survive? You know, these yaks and mountain goats are animals with fur. These are the furry animals. The skin of their animals are covered with fur, which help them to keep them warm in these places. This is how they can survive in such polar region and mountains. Understood? This polar region and mountains are the places which is extremely cold and it is covered with snow throughout the year. And the animals like polar bear, walrus, seal, these are some animals which can withstand, which can bear the coldness because their skin are very thick. That is why they can bear this coldness. Okay, and they are the furry animals. That means the skin is full of fur. That is why they can maintain themselves to keep them warm. These animals live in such region and they have made this polar and mountain region their habitat, where they can fulfill their essential needs. They get all the essential needs in this region, like the food they get, the shelter they get. Okay? Now let us see the picture, you will understand. So students, see, this is the picture of polar region and mountains habitat. The penguins, then leopard seal, penguin, then Arctic wolf, walrus, Arctic fox, polar bear. These are some animals who live in this region. They live in this region because they can withstand, they can bear the coldness of the place. They have the habit. Habitat is actually the habit of the animal where they live naturally. Since they are born, they live naturally in these kind of places. That is why they can adapt to this environment. Understood? This penguin, walrus, then polar bear, Arctic wolf, seal, these are some animals. But if you bring this animal in the hot region, they will not survive. They may die because they don't have the habit of staying in the hot area. Okay? And now students, let us study about oceans, ocean habitat. Now what is ocean? Ocean are the large water bodies. Yes or no? The ocean is a large continuous body of salt water that covers 2/3 of the Earth's surface. Oceans are the large water bodies. It is a large continuous body of salty water covers 2/3 of the Earth's surface. That means our Earth is mostly covered by water. Yes or no? And this oceans covers 2/3 of the Earth's surface. These are the very huge and large continuous water bodies where water is very salty. Okay. It is the world's largest habitat, and ocean is known as the world's largest habitat because it is a habitat of many animals, many water animals. Okay, it is divided into that the oceans is divided into 5 oceans in the world. Those are the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Arctic Ocean, and the Southern Ocean or the Antarctic Ocean. The Antarctic Ocean is also known as the Southern Ocean. Okay, and according to these oceans there are different types of species and different varieties of animals you will find which live in such places. The meaning of dwell, D-W-E-L-L, it means to live. Understood? These are some, you will find different animals and different varieties which live accordingly to different places and different oceans that is situated in the different countries of the world. Okay, there are 5 oceans in the world: the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Arctic Ocean, and the Southern Ocean or the Antarctic Ocean. Okay, a very large variety of fishes are found in ocean. You will find very large varieties of fishes, different types of fishes you will find in the oceans. The whales, turtles, octopus, jellyfish are some animals which are found here. Okay, these are some different animals that you will find in the oceans. Understood? Now what is ocean? Ocean is the large continuous body of salt water which covers almost 2/3 of the Earth's surface. Okay, it is the world's largest habitat, and oceans is considered to be the world's largest habitat where many different types of animals and fishes live there. Okay, the oceans of the world are divided into there are 5 oceans in the world. Those are the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Arctic Ocean, and the Antarctic Ocean. Understood? And what are the animals who live in these type of what are the different animals who live in the oceans? Those are the whales, turtles, octopus, jellyfish. Okay, these are some examples of animals who live in the oceans. See this picture, this is the ocean's habitat. Not only animals, okay, this oceans is also a home of many plants, and the water plants are called as planktons also. See, there are different varieties of plants, the turtles, the shark, the different types of fishes you will find, the different types of plants you will find in the oceans. That is why these oceans are said to be as the world's largest habitat. In numerous species you will find in the oceans, innumerous. You can't even imagine how many varieties of species you will find living in the oceans. Okay. And now let us study about the freshwater habitat. I already told you what is freshwater. Freshwater like the lakes, the water of the lakes, ponds, rivers, which is not salty. The salty water is not fresh. Those are the oceans and seas. Freshwater means the lakes, the ponds, the rivers. Understood? Rivers, lakes and ponds are examples of freshwater habitat. Some animals can live only in water. There are some animals who can live only inside the water. For example, fishes and shrimps. Okay, these are some animals who can live only inside the water. Fish cannot live on the land. If you take out the fish from water, it will die. Yes or no? These are some examples of animals like fishes and shrimps. They can live only inside the water. Some animals can live both on land and in water, but there are also some animals who can live both on land and in water. Those are called as what? Those are called as amphibians. The animals who can live both on land and in water are called as amphibians. A-M-P-H-I-B-I-A-N-S. The animals who can live both on land and in water are called as amphibians. Understood? Examples of amphibians who live both on land and in water are like frogs, salamanders, reptiles such as crocodile, alligator. These are some animals who can live both on the land and inside the water also. And there are some mammals also who can live both in land and in water, like hippopotamus. Okay, it lives in water also and in land also. Understood? So this is the freshwater habitat. Okay. See students, this is the picture of freshwater habitat. Pond, lake, stream, river, and different types of animals like fishes. Fishes are the animals who can live only inside the water. Fishes and shrimp are the examples of animals who live only inside the water, who can live only inside the water. Like crocodile, alligator, ducks, frog. These are some animals who can live both on land also and in water also. The beavers, okay, these are some examples of animals who can live both on the land and in water, and they are considered to be as the freshwater animals. Okay, their habitat is freshwater. Habitat means the surrounding, the place where they live, where they are habitual of living. We are habitual of living where? Inside the home. Yes or no? We cannot live in the forest. Can we live? We cannot live inside the forest. Habitat means the habit of an animal where they can live. It is a habit. That is why it is called as habitat. Okay? Our habitat is the cities and the towns are our habitat. A particular place is our habitat. And our home is our house. Understood? So students, that was all about the first part of this chapter. What did we study? Let us revise once. Today we studied about the habitat, the different types of habitat. Those are the forest, desert, polar region and mountain, oceans and freshwater. Okay? Now what is a habitat? It is an area where a particular animal naturally lives. Okay? It is a shelter that provides the animal with all its essential needs like air, water, food, everything. Okay? The different types of habitat on the earth I already told you, like forest, desert, polar region, mountains, freshwater, ocean are the different habitat. Okay? And forest is a habitat of wild animals where wild animals live, and it is also a habitat of many insects, several types of insects. Okay? A forest is a large area that is covered with many plants and trees. Then we studied about the desert habitat where only a particular animal live who can survive into the hot climate of the desert, who are habitual of living in the hot climate. And a desert is a place which is a dry, often sandy, which receives very less or little rainfall and where there is scarcity of water. Yes or no? Then polar region. Polar region and mountains are areas which is covered with snow throughout the year, and these areas are extremely cold, and it is a habitat of animals which can bear the coldness of the place. For example, like polar bear, seal, walrus, etc. Okay? Then the yaks, the mountain goats, and how they can bear? Because their body is covered with thick skin and fur which help them to withstand the coldness of the place. Okay? Then oceans. Oceans is a large water body, large body of salty water where different varieties of animals and species live, and it is considered to be the world's largest habitat. There are 5 oceans in the world, that is Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Arctic Ocean and the Southern Ocean or the Antarctic Ocean. Okay? And in oceans, a large variety of fishes are found in the oceans, and some animals who live in the oceans are like whales, turtles, octopus, jellyfish. Apart from this, you will find many plants also which grows inside the oceans. Okay. Then freshwater habitat are those like lake, the water of the lakes, ponds, rivers, stream, where different animals live who can only live in fresh water. Okay. For example, some fishes and shrimps who can live only water, but there are some amphibians also who can live both on the water and on the land also. And what are amphibians? Amphibians are animals which can live both on the land and in water. For example, the frogs, the crocodiles, the alligators, these are some examples of amphibians. Okay? And fresh water is a habitat of animals who have the habit of staying in the fresh water. Okay? They cannot survive in the oceans and seas because they don't have the habit of that salty water. Okay, they will die if they are supposed to stay in that kind of places or that kind of habitat. Okay, now what is a habitat? It is a place where it is a particular area where an animal lives naturally, where an animal is habitual of living in that area. That becomes the habitat of that animal. Okay, so students, this was all. In the next class, we will study with the adaptation, with the second part of this chapter, that is adaptation. Okay, now how these animals are adapted to their habitat, how they adapt themselves. Okay, so in the next class, I will see you with the next topic of this chapter, that is adaptation. Till then, take care of yourself. Thanks for watching the video. See you in the next class.